When we felt special in the 1970s. Before we took things like mobile phones and smartphones and handheld tablets for granted and demanded delivery the next day, and the times when gifts were for special occasions, we really still did have reasons to feel privileged, whether we were rich or poor. How did we manage without the technology of today? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Those warm and nostalgic moments when we felt so lucky. The same things of everyday life in our past that made us feel so special. So let's get on with it. First of all, it sounds daft, but house points at school. Do you remember those? You maybe did great homework or finished first in a sort of event or made extra effort and was rewarded at school. The points were both personal for you and your house team. And it was just a scrap of paper with one house point written on it. No monetary value, no prize, just a reward from your teacher that marked your contribution, that gave you the value that made you feel proud and appreciated. We really worked hard for those house points, and yes, you could lose them too for bad behaviour. Coming home to a cooked dinner. You'd never know what was for dinner that evening when you started your day, whether you were going to work or school or when you were living at home. It didn't mean that you were going to get a big home-cooked dinner every single night. Sometimes it would be egg and chips, and by the way, that's still a comfort meal for most of us. Or a mash-up of last night's Sunday dinner, bubble and squeak. Cabbage, potatoes and other vegetables, all crushed and fried. But some nights you'd walk in and you'd smell that dinner cooking, and that real treat. Never a banquet, nothing pre-made from the freezer, just basic 2 meat, 2 veg dinner. And folks just take that for granted today, would they? Well, my favourite was always steak and kidney homemade pie with mash and veg and homemade gravy. Doesn't sound so rich today, but many of us in the 1970s struggled, but hopefully had a decent meal on the table. Many a time it was corned beef and meat pie with potatoes, and when corned beef was cheap though. Not to forget those puddings, homemade, cakes, biscuits and custard, which was made with real raw ingredients and a loving hand. Nothing expensive or elaborate, but filling and wholesome and warm. A simple visit from a relative. You never knew when visitors were going to come because they just knock on your door on spec. No text messages or phones to arrange, you see. After making sure it wasn't the rent man or the provident woman, you'd let their aunt or the uncle in, and the first thing we did in our house was to switch off the TV and the radio. The kettle was on and you'd invite them to sit down. You would invite them to sit down. So different to today. That visit was special because it was all about conversation. Now, I don't know whether you had relatives that made you laugh, I hope so, but we had a special aunt and a wonderful grandfather too, full of funny stories, their past memories and how they used to live. And I was always amazed and entertained by their stories as a kid. And we never left the room and did our own thing. We stayed to listen. Well, it would have been rude. Doris was my aunt who taught me so much about the social history that I actually talk about today. And Grandad Babington was always on his harmonica and always had a little present for us. Took his hat off to enter the house. Sometimes he'd pull out a new 5p piece or a small bar of chocolate and his suited jacket pocket. They were special moments, all with grace and inclusion. And he really could play that mouth organ, you know. Being ill as a kid, maybe a cough or a sore throat, that's all. You'd be off school for the day. Mother would say, right, no school for you, and suddenly you'd start to feel better, but not too much, in case she changed her mind and sent you. You'd be on the settee with a blanket in front of the coal fire, feeling pampered and spoilt. Nothing wonderful really, just a bottle of Lucozade, you know, the one with the plastic cover on, the yellow one, and a bowl of soup. Well, if you like soup. Soup and toast was a sort of treat, really. And oxtail and minestrone was always in our house. And a comic to read. Home remedies to get rid of the cough that tasted awful. It was always strange, though, being off school, especially into the afternoon. But you maybe hope that you may be just ill enough to take the next day off. No such luck. See, there were 4 kids in our house, so that odd day off school always meant that you had that extra attention that made you feel a little bit more special. I can remember watching Crown Court on the TV and the school programmes which I only thought were actually shown in schools and nowhere else. Does anybody remember Picture Box and Look and Read? A shopping trip. Nothing special, I know, but as a poor family the odd treat would be a simple cafe. And I can remember it like yesterday. All you got was a drink and a sandwich, but it was a real treat. No McDonald's or Burger King. It was a marketplace cafe bustling with factory workers all in their coveralls, all having hearty cooked breakfasts, or pensioners passing their day with a cup of tea and a chat, all talking about each other, mouthing certain words that we thought we couldn't work out as kids, but we knew who they were talking about. It was obvious. It was the person that had just left the cafe. The pinball machine was rattling and the jukebox was playing, so lively and full of chatter, steamed up windows, the smell of cooking, affordable meals. Sounds really basic, but it was really fantastic to kids in those days. Do you remember those independent cake shops that actually made fresh cream cakes? I know they are rare, but a large jam tart or a slab of bread pudding, that would do us. Always a queue for their fresh baked bread and their crusty cobs. It was just a simple treat. Now, what about the TV when you actually got permission to watch a programme that you really wanted to watch, and you had to hope your parents would like it so you'd be able to watch the whole of the series? You know, instead of Poldark or those period dramas that bored us kids senseless. Remember, 1 TV in the house, no choice of a bedroom TV or a game station, whatever they're called. I distinctly remember asking for the Waltons, which I have to be honest, I still love today. My sister's choice was everything with a horse in it. But I think that'd really shake kids up today if a treat was just simply watching a TV show of your choice. But there was always a big thing, and sometimes having a TV was a big thing, you know. Watching Steptoe and Son was a treat for all of us, because my dad, as I told you, was a rag and bone man in the early 70s. My eldest niece still watches it today. Have you got a favourite programme of the 1970s? Let me know. Maybe we could do a video on that. It's your birthday, and it didn't matter how poor your family was. You were made to feel special. No massive presents of people throwing money at you, or that gift that you demanded. Nah. We never expected a lot, but we were always grateful for what we did get. There was always a physical birthday card and a few chosen gifts and a trifle at tea time. Now, I've said this before, but presents you received may not have cost a fortune, but you knew they had saved for them. Or maybe in our case, they'd won them at prize bingo. But it didn't matter. We appreciated them. And we got out of having to do the washing up for that evening, not forgetting the homemade birthday cake. Same cakes as Mum and Dad usually bake, but just a little bit more icing, sugar on, and a few candles that they found. Colourful and vibrant memories. You can almost touch them sometimes. But these small things excited us. Imagine being a kid content with 10 pence pocket money, followed by the words, "Don't spend it all," or a small Matchbox car. Would they be content with a second-hand bike, or something from a jumble sale? I'd love to think so, but I guess I'd be wrong. But we were, and even if we didn't like what we got, we somehow didn't show our ungratefulness. Yes, because we would have considered ourselves ungrateful, but moreover, we respected our parents' position and their taste. Okay, we probably didn't respect their taste, but we always gave a graceful nod, didn't we? But we understood our family's financial situation. But you get a fair bit in the 70s for your 10 pence. 10-penny mix of sweets would get you a bag full. And I remember the 99 ice cream, 7 pence with a flake. Do you know, I took a look at the side of an ice cream van the other day. I couldn't believe it. The same ice cream, £4.50. Cool blimey. Before the days of junk mail and leaflets and people wanted to buy their pizzas and stuff like that, the postman would come and there was always something for you. Maybe something you'd been waiting for from the catalogue, or a Christmas card, or a letter that had your name on it. And it was the kind of thing that made you really feel grown up, part of the adult world. Your first checkbook and cash card, remember that? Something you had to wait weeks for the parcel, not like the next day or expecting it the same day and phoning up and complaining to a chatbot. No track and trace, just waiting and anticipating and hoping the postie would come down your path. In the days when we owned something so very little, all those small things held the greatest of importance. First thing I ever had from a catalogue was a portable cassette recorder from my sister's club book. I played and recorded on it constantly. Blank tapes were cheap. I always managed to make a good full tape, your favourites. And you want to record stuff that you think, oh, I won't fast forward that. You do in the end, don't you? Well, I just wanted to point out the contrast are so different to the days and the world where microwaves were dining your dinner or cooking your dinner instead of a person calling you from playing outside, knowing that dinner was cooked in a cooker. Where family members are in different rooms playing computers or researching items on the web instead of playing family games or actually dining together. Housework is automated instead of everyone doing their bit round the home. All those small things made us feel special. They've been mocked and laughed at today. Politeness was expected and not rewarded. Pocket money was earned for good behaviour and not expected or demanded. You just had to have been there. Well, I've noticed a few people have stopped watching my videos. It's not a problem, but I do miss you all, and I'm wondering whether I'm doing anything wrong, or am I just doing the same stuff that you got a little bit bored of? Let me know in the comments, please. If you want me to do anything, I'll do my best. Anyway, those who I've watched, all two of you, thank you so much. My name's Mickey Bavington. Bye for now.